All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. In the fate of America, Babylon the Great is in the hands of Yahweh Shemel Shai. And there's nothing that Esau can do to change the outcome.
There's 3 phases of a ballistic missile. Boost phase. First 5 minutes, that's when it's detectable from space. Then it enters mid-course phase, which is going to be 20 minutes, arcing across the globe to its target. 500 miles up, something like Mach 23, 14,000 miles an hour. And the last phase is called terminal phase. 100 seconds, when the warhead re-enters the atmosphere, boom, explodes over its target. Remember I told you we have 1,700 nuclear missiles on ready for launch status. Russia has about the same. We have 44 interceptor missiles. How are 44 interceptor missiles going to go up against more than 1,000 Russian nuclear weapons coming at us? So there's this perception that we have a system like the Iron Dome that could take out these incoming missiles, and we simply don't. Which is why when nuclear war begins, it only ends in nuclear Armageddon.
Whew.
There
you go. So the fate of America cannot be disannulled, right? Disannul, to annul or cancel, to annul completely, to render void or of no effect. Okay? To annul, do away with, to cancel, all right? So the nuclear destruction, which is going to be the outcome of America's future, it can't be canceled, it can't be changed. It can't be rendered of no effect, right? Jeremiah 51:11, it says, make bright the arrows. What are the arrows? The ICBM nuclear missiles, right? He said that in 2nd Ezra 16. The arrows that he shooteth are sharp, right? 2nd Ezra 16:13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp. And this shows you as well that Yahweh Shemel Shai is in control of the nuclear missiles. Right? For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. This is why they're called intercontinental ballistic missiles. Right? They're going to be shot from one end of the earth to the other. Isaiah 13 goes into that. You know? Jeremiah 51:11, again, it says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. All right, the Medes today would be the Russians, and they have been raised up with great power, pursuing to Ezekiel 38. All right, the Lord said that He put hooks in his jaws. You know, Gog and Magog. You know, the Lord built Russia up back to a to a force, man. It says the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his devices against Babylon, okay? America. For his devices against Babylon to destroy it. Because it is the vengeance of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, the vengeance of his temple. See? It says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, right? And these nations are preparing to strike this place, man. Okay? It's all in the headlines. It's all in the news daily of what Russia and China and, these other nations that are against the West, what they're preparing to do. For the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. All right. So this is America's future, man, being told unto you. Right. Isaiah 13:17, Babylon will fall to the Medes. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, right? Russia, in which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, and it says their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. So like the scriptures say, you know, Babylon, let me get it. Babylon has been that golden cup, right? Jeremiah 51, and I start at 5. Jeremiah 51 and 5, for Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power, right? This is why we're in the time of the awakening, all right? The Israelites are waking up, starting with the elect, all right? Prophecy is going out. The true understanding of the scriptures is going out, you know? And the elect are standing back up upon their feet in these last days. So again, Israel has not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power. The Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense, right? And that word recompense goes back to a reward. Okay, retribution. Verse 7, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. See? Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, and this is what happened when America has pushed those wicked wines and philosophies to these other nations. They have become, you know, drunken. They have become mad, man. You know, adopting the Western way has totally destroyed these other nations. All right, Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, goes into how's it say, when woe unto when the neighbor drinks the bottle. Let me get that too. Just thinking out loud. And I want to come back to where it says Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Right? Just want to look that up too. But again, that those wicked wines, real quick. Habakkuk 2 and verse 15, it says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. And essentially, by these nations adopting that democracy, that Western way, it made these nations drunk. They were found naked. They were in sin, because through those philosophies of Babylon, these nations had put away their customs and took on this Western way to destruction, man. Right? This is why, again, going back to Jeremiah 51, this is why those nations are mad, right? And this is why they're ready to bring, you know, war, destruction, right? But I want to look this up real quick, just curious to see what it says, and we'll get to this video that I got queued up. All right. Let's pull this up real quick. See if we get anything meaning. Right? Let's see what we get. All right. So it says the phrase Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand refers to Babylon's splendor and power as an instrument used by God to enact judgment on other nations. Right. Exactly. So like we talked about, the influence, the wines and philosophies that these nations have taken on from Babylon, America, right, that have destroyed them. It says, however, the wine in this cup symbolizes the destructive influence and wrath that Babylon spreads, leading nations to madness and ruin. Exactly. Right. And this is why these nations are no longer, you know, accepting that Western way. OK, that democracy, that feminism, the Moism. Right. You know, the Western, what they call Western imperialism has destroyed all of these nations that took that on. Right. This is why these nations now are preparing for war. Right. So back to the point again, as we just saw here, Babylon's, you know, destruction cannot be disannulled. Right. And I just wanted to kind of just play this video here. I had did a quick animation using some clips from this video. This is a pretty good video here from the Wall Street Journal. All right. Going into the Golden Dome. The 175 billion Golden Dome will upgrade U.S. defense, right? But as we just saw, there's no Golden Dome, Iron Dome. There's nothing they can do to stop that inevitable nuclear destruction, right? So this is just a vain imagination from these devils, you know?
The Golden Dome for America is a game changer.
President Trump's Golden Dome plan might look simple here, but if the $175 billion missile defense shield is going to work the way he wants it to, the U.S. will need to put technology into space that is incredibly complex. In some cases, we're talking about satellites that don't even exist yet.
The only time that I can think of in the history of the United States where we have gone after something this complex was the Manhattan Project.
In the short term, experts say we'll probably see more existing defense systems placed around the country. Long term, those systems will have to interact with hundreds of satellites that are supposed to detect, track, and eventually even intercept high-tech missiles from space. That's because competitors like China and Russia are racing to develop missiles that can maneuver and evade current defenses.
I think innovation is going to continue, and we can't imagine or predict what our competitor nations are going to come up with.
Here's what the Golden Dome could ultimately look like, and why some worry that it will fuel a dangerous arms race in space. To understand why officials say the Golden Dome is needed, you first have to understand how missile technology is advancing. We'll start with the Standard Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, or ICBM, which travels in a high arc. This kind of missile, boosted by a rocket, travels to its peak hundreds of miles above the Earth, and then is brought down by gravity. ICBMs are very dangerous. They can carry multiple nuclear warheads and even be shot from submarines. But their trajectory is predictable, making them easier to detect and track with radar. So several defense systems are capable of shooting one of these down. Now there's a newer and more dangerous intercontinental missile called the Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, or FOBS. These can fly much lower. This kind of weapon is launched into a partial or fractional orbit. Since it doesn't travel in a high arc, the weapon can fly under the radar for much of its flight. It's capable of reaching its target much faster, and crucially, it can approach from unexpected angles, meaning defenses don't know when or where it's coming down. Another newer threat is the Boosted Hypersonic Glide Weapon, which is an intercontinental missile that can maneuver and evade defenses. These missiles are launched into space and ultimately travel at extremely fast speeds, greater than Mach 5. And after they enter the atmosphere, they maneuver to their targets on a glide vehicle. Because they can glide at low altitudes and change course midair, they can be extremely hard to detect and counter.
Yeah, remember, again, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be on those missiles when they're shot. All right, so no matter what type of technology that they may have, they're not going to be able to stop it. Again, it's all vanity. It's all in vain. Right? Joel, the 2nd chapter. Just want to go straight to the point. So this is going into the missiles in this chapter, the beginning of this chapter, right? This is Joel 2:4. It says, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array, right? Going into those missiles, man. Before their face, the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. All right, these people are going to get scorched. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the walls like men of war, and they shall march everyone on his ways, and they should not break their ranks. The point, verse 8. Neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk everyone in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. So again, that missile-guided technology that they have, and then ultimately the Spirit of the Lord is going to be guiding those missiles to hit their destined targets. All right? So that can't be stopped. There's nothing they can do. All right? They shall run to and fro in the city, they should run upon the wall, they should climb up upon the houses, they should enter in at the windows like a thief, right? So when those missiles go up into the heavens, as she was just explaining, and those warheads come down and hit the earth, right? That's exactly what's going to happen when those missiles are shot from them silos, man. All right?
So how will the Golden Dome help upgrade the U.S.'s defenses to counter these new threats? The US already has a network of satellites that scans for infrared signatures, so they can detect when and where missiles launch. But those satellites can't determine the type of missiles being fired.
The maneuverability, the gliding, the outmaneuvering of our defenses, those are all the challenges that we're trying to address. So we need a sensor layer that can keep track and custody of all of these objects as they are maneuvering.
A sensor layer, which the Pentagon has already been developing, is a network of tracking satellites that President Trump wants to expedite. By launching hundreds and eventually even thousands of sensors into orbit, the US says it will be able to detect and, importantly, track missiles as they maneuver and change course. Officials say the system will be able to calculate where a missile is heading so that defense systems can intercept it. But the Golden Dome won't stop there. The US wants to field even more ambitious and controversial space technology that hasn't even been fully developed yet. We're talking about space interceptors.
It's not clear what the design is. The satellite might contain multiple interceptors, as in like a mother and daughter. It's not clear what the design is, what the US will end up pursuing.
Whatever they end up looking like, these interceptors will, in theory, be key, because they'll be able to take out missiles much earlier in their flight. However, this is where things get very controversial. If you put interceptors in space, you could potentially do a lot more than just take out missile threats. You could imagine them being used offensively, let's say to take out satellites belonging to China or Russia. It's no surprise those countries, America's biggest competitors in space, have come out against the Golden Dome.
美国奉行本国优先，执迷于谋求自身绝对安全。我们敦促美方尽早放弃发展和部署全球反导系统。
Our enemies are very unhappy about it. You've been hearing, you've been reading. Why are they doing that? Why? Well, we're doing it because we want to be around for a long time. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, you already said they're doing it because they want to be around for a long time, right? And that's the mindset of Esau, right? Psalm 49 and 11. It says, Psalms 49 and 11, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. As he just said, they're building this golden dome, this iron dome, so they can be around for a long time. Okay, they think that they can protect themselves from nuclear war, all right, from these nuclear missiles hitting. It's not going to happen. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They called their lands after their own names, right? So that's how these Edomites think. They actually think that they're going to survive, nuclear war. That America is going to continue to thrive. Psalms 2 and 1, it says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing?" See, this golden dome is a vain idea. It's a vain thing.
President Trump has said the Golden Dome will cost $175 billion and be done by the end of his term. Though experts say it could cost billions more and take much longer to build out, that is, if it's actually ever finished. Previous presidents, most notably Ronald Reagan, have attempted ambitious missile defense efforts in the past.
What must be recognized is that our security is based on being prepared to meet all threats.
Those initiatives fell short because of high costs, technological shortcomings, and even pressure from foreign countries. The big question now is whether President Trump will be able to overcome those very same obstacles.
Yeah, so again, hey, the Lord is in control, man, right? Proverbs 16 and 4. And it reads, it says, "The Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shah, made all things for himself. Yea, even the wicked for the day of evil," right? Everything is in the control of the Most High, man. Okay, and I was just thinking about, let's see if we can pull up something. All right, because when those missiles are launched, again, the Lord is going to be controlling those missiles, man. His spirit is going to be on those missiles, right? And I want to get the, let's see, UFOs around nuclear bases. See what we get. Yeah. I just want to pull up something, man. Because, hey, there's been testimonies from, America's military and Russia's military of how those, how the UFOs, the chariots, have, controlled the systems. Turned them on, turned them off, taking missiles out of the air. all types of stuff.
As deep as being as deep as I am in UFO research, where like I know there's a nuclear connection. There's a great book by a guy named Robert Hastings called UFOs and Nukes, and it's like 600 pages, and it is 167 Q-cleared ICBM security personnel, radar operators, employees at nuclear bases where they're saying they see Tic Tacs, orbs, saucers, all sorts of stuff flying around our nuclear sites, often disarming the nukes. And so it's always...
And I've done lessons going into this. Yeah, there's been a lot of testimonies about how the angels disarm the nukes. They can shut the system on, shut it off. So the point I'm making is that the Lord is going to be in control once this, once nuclear war breaks out. Okay, He's going to control. He's going to take down them satellites and He's going to disarm that Iron Dome. You know, that Golden Dome. All right, this is the Lord's movie, as we just read, right? Isaiah 45:7. It says, Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, do all these things. See? So there's nothing at all that Esau can do whatsoever, right? Once it goes down, that's it, right?
Employees at nuclear bases where they're saying they see Tic Tacs, orbs, saucers, all sorts of stuff flying around our nuclear sites, often disarming the nukes. And so it's always tough to answer that question where you're like, what do you think of Skywatcher? I'm like, if I don't have that ontology where like UFOs are showing up around nukes constantly, which I'm deep in this, and they do. They show up all around the world. There's a town in Japan called Ino, which is next to the Fukushima prefecture. Fukushima is famous for its civilian nuclear grid, which was built in the 1970s. It has a museum dedicated to UFOs in the 90s that they built. Everybody there is obsessed with UFOs. Vice did a documentary in 2022 because they are obsessed with UFOs. There are geomagnetic anomalies they found all over this mountain, Sengan Mori there, and there are UFO researchers there, and like everybody in that town believes in UFOs. Bariloche, Argentina, 1995, you have a commercial, they're famous for, again, civilian nuclear grid, commercial pilot at Aerolíneas Argentinas or whatever, famous UFO sighting. It shuts down the power at the airport, and the thing has the plane can't land, and then it goes around in a circle, and there are people on the flight who have been interviewed. It's on the YouTube video. It's pretty simple and easy to digest. Even Roswell, 1947. The largest stockpile of American nuclear weapons to date at that time, 1947. So there are all these declassified documents. In 1949, there's an emergency meeting, declassified Air Force document that is verified between Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Army Counterintelligence, Army CIC, FBI, Office of Naval Intelligence. All these guys are emergency meeting because they're freaked out at how much UFOs are showing up around nuclear sites across the U.S. In 1952, there's a Look magazine article where Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, who's kind of marginalized pre-Blue Book really taking off with J. Allen Hynek, who I think was basically a disinfo agent, where I do, yeah, and he's claimed to have like gotten better and kind of be, he admitted his part in the cover-up, but then I think he kept going on with some fuckery, yeah, yeah. So there's so if you don't have that ontology, there's Vasily Alexeyev is a Russian general, and in a German magazine from 2000, he's interviewed, and he talks about how UFOs show up at the forefront of human ingenuity and advancement. And when we transport certain material, the UFOs show up. Now, being as deep...
Yeah. So again, that just proves the point that the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, is in control of everything, man. So the fate of Babylon, again, cannot be disannulled, man. All right? We're in that time. Shalom.